Hey everyone, it's me again. I'm back with chapter 2 of my twin flame journey. And I just want to really basically just get straight into it. I've got the urge to do it today, and I'm nice and comfy, and I'm just ready. I've got my nice Care Bear pyjamas on, as you do. And you know, it's time to get real, it's time to be authentic, it's time to really get out there with things that were very difficult, you know, with the stages, and I'm just going to get straight into it. So I left off with the fact that I decided to relocate to another country for work. I took the opportunity to just go and try and escape what was happening with me from the initial meeting with Twin, and having, it was round about just over a year that it was a bit of meeting up, and then I lived in the UK, he lived in Spain, and I would say that I was probably the runner in the beginning, even though I thought I wasn't. Now, this happened like 2011, that I decided to go away to another country. And I told you, you know, it was very difficult for me to really digest this level of emotion that was just overwhelming me. And I couldn't quite understand what it was I was going through. Now, when I first met Twin, it was 2010, so this was now 2011. And I had no one, I had absolutely no one who really, I could really talk to, or I was finding that people weren't quite grasping what it was I was feeling. And, you know, it made me feel very sad, very alone, very scared, very vulnerable, very just, you know, all of these emotions, and I was feeling very depressed, and I didn't realise what this depression was. It was taking over me, and I was getting into a dark place because I never had anything on the internet. I didn't know anything about this twin flame dynamic or journey. I had no one to guide me. I had no one understanding me. And I felt very alone and scared. And when I got to this other country, I went to work with a friend of mine over there. And the day I got there, I received a message from Twin, who somehow knew that was the day I was moving. And he wrote me a really long, heartfelt text message before WhatsApp came out. And this was the first time in my life that I have ever had a man reach out on a deeper level and think of me in a way where he opened up. Not a lot, it was a teeny tiny amount, but that teeny tiny amount completely blew my mind. And he was just, you know, just letting me know that he was kind of sad, but, you know, allowing me to follow my heart and telling me not to be scared of the new changes I made for myself, leaving the UK, which was a very brave thing to do, and you know, just saying that he's always going to be thinking of me, and if I ever need him to come and see me, to let him know, and he hopes that I settle down and find a nice Greek guy, because I went back to my home country, Cyprus, and it was kind of like, got me, which just made it even harder to deal with. Now, before I move into the actual dark night of the soul, I have to tell you that one thing that happened with me that I didn't, sorry, I've got something in my mouth, that I didn't actually quite acknowledge at the time it was happening, but, well, I did, but I just didn't quite understand what was going on. But When we first had sex, me and Twin, I remember, like I said, it was like feeling home and everything, but I remember the first touch. I remember looking at him like, how do you know me and my body? Like, how do you know everything that you're doing? How do you know everything? It was like your touch, your kiss, everything that he was doing was just blowing my mind. And I was getting just tingles from head to toe. Like my whole body was tingling and shaking, and he'd blow my mind. And what was happening throughout the year was every single time we were having sex and, you know, making love, it was like, I don't know, something was happening to me. Something was happening to me, which was very, very, one of the reasons why I found it very difficult with this level of emotion and being like, who are you? Like, how do you know me? How do you know my body? How do you know what buttons to push? I've only just met you, you know, and it was like, I felt like I was making love with someone who I'd been making love with for an eternity. That's how it felt. So letting all of that go and running away from it and not understanding why and what and how, you know, it was very, 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 very hard. And so I went down even further. When I moved to Cyprus, I went even lower, and I started to have major anxiety attacks, and I was just living in fear. It felt like I was living in fear, just constant fear, like I was in this black hole. I was in this black hole and I couldn't see a way out at all. And the doctors wanted to prescribe me on antidepressants, and I was like, no, I don't do tablets. Thought about it, but kind of knew that I had issues to work through, but I couldn't understand why. Or, you know, what even. I didn't know what issues I had to work through, but I knew that something inside of me was screaming out. Something inside of me was just like trying to fight this darkness. And, you know, I couldn't quite understand what this was all about. And I made the decision to go back to Spain just to be near him. I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I need to be there. I need to be there. So what happened was I decided to go back to Spain, and I'd been there for about a month. No, not even, actually, sorry. It was probably about 2 weeks. And I went out with a group of friends that I previously made anyway from working before and coming out a few times before, that I met through Twin. And this is where the shit really started. Like, that emotion wasn't bad enough to go through. So I was out one evening, and a mutual friend of ours said to me, so I take it you've heard about Twin and his girlfriend. And my heart stopped. It stopped dead. Now at this point I was putting on a very big front, by the way. Everybody thought that I was just having fun, having an amazing life and travelling around, and, you know, I was such a great actress back in the day, you know. Actually, I really wasn't. I thought I was, but I really wasn't. But, you know, no one knew what I was feeling for Twin, because I hid it very well, and I never even tried to acknowledge it myself anyway. I was lying to myself, you know. I was living very much in ego, and I wasn't authentic in the slightest, not with anyone, not even with myself. And my heart stopped. It literally stopped. But I put on a front, and I was like, oh yeah, I've heard about the girlfriend. I didn't have a clue, you know. I just played along with it. And I felt like my world was just ending. I felt like I'd been shot in every bit of my body. God, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. And I was unbelievably just beside myself. I was beside myself. I was like, why? Why did he do this? Why did he get a girlfriend? When did he get the girlfriend? Like, what was that? What happened? You know, so I basically sent him a really horrible message, and I called him like really horrible names, called him a worthless piece of shit. That's an awful thing to say to someone, but I did. Oh, I called him everything you can imagine. I was so angry. I was so fucking angry that he did this to me. And it was like, talk about living in darkness anyway. I was already struggling and battling this darkness anyway. So to hear that, it was like just awful. And well, it's interesting actually, because this is when the outside influences started to really happen as well. So he broke me. He didn't break me, like I just was devastated. And anyway, things weren't working out for me at all. In Spain, I was trying to make a go of it and find work and everything, and it just was not happening. And I was failing miserably. And he found out that I was having my last night in Spain. I was going to have a night out just to say goodbye to everyone and basically ship everything back home, because I'd moved from one country to the other, and then I was decided like I'm just going to go back to the UK and get out of here and, you know, sort my life out. So he found out that it was my last night because I was actually staying with another mutual friend of ours. And the mutual friend of ours was a male. And we hit it off straight away. You know, I felt such a warm connection with our mutual friend, and I had a lot of love for him, you know, as a friend, as a mate, as a brother, and a different type of connection, obviously. And he took me under his wing from the word go. You know, he was so lovely. So anyway, we decided to come on a night out, and this was just after I sent him this god-awful message, and then I blocked him again on Facebook, and, you know, that's all I kept doing was blocking, unblocking, blocking, unblocking. And anyway, he came to see me, and by that point, I mean, it was really weird, because every time I'd see him in the physical, it was like all logic went out the window. You know, it was my heart talking. And so it was just like, you know, I just wanted to give him a hug. Just instead of wanting to punch him, I just wanted to hug him and love him. And anyway, our friend was out playing the guitar, you know, doing a little bit of a gig, and I went outside and Twin followed me, and he sat down and he became very soft, and he said, "I'm so sorry." And I said, don't worry about it. I was still my wall was up by this point a lot. And I hadn't actually showed any sign of vulnerability with him at all. Like I told you, I had a very hard shell. So, you know, I wasn't speaking my truth in any way, shape or form. I was speaking anger, or, you know, that was basically it from then. It was just anger came out, and then I'm like, okay, don't worry about it. You know, just trying to make out I was fine, and, you know, that was that. So he said to me that he'd been together with her for a while, and he didn't tell me because he wasn't sure where we were going, and because she lived in the same country, in the same area as him. So, of course, you know, they met, and it was more logical to be with someone local than it would be to get with a girl who lived in a different country and then deciding to move to another country. And, you know, so I was like, it's fine, don't worry, whatever, you know. And the conversation just started to take a turn into more of a deeper conversation when the mutual friend came out and he sat at the table and he went, so what are you two talking about then? And I'm like, oh, you know, so it kind of cut it dead, so we couldn't really continue the conversation. And afterwards, the friend went back to play the guitar, and me and Twin decided to go off and get something to eat. And I wanted to continue this conversation because, you know, I just needed answers. I needed to, I knew that I was going to have to let this guy go for good. So I wanted a proper goodbye. And as we were walking out, I saw that the friend was getting quite annoyed that we were leaving together, which baffled me. It really baffled me. There's more to come with the friend, by the way. This is all relevant. So I was like, okay, it's a bit weird. You know, why is he acting like that? It's a bit strange. So when we walked out, we were walking to a place to go and get something to eat, and we were just mucking about. By this point, our humour was back because we still had this banter and this chemistry and this humour and this love that was unexplainable. And I was even quizzing how I wasn't trying to hurt him. I just wasn't. I just didn't realise that, you know, the love was just really, really real. And anyway, he was like, he said to me, oh, give us something. I can't remember what it was. I think it was a cigarette. Give us a cigarette. So I was like, no, you know, mucking about. And he pushed me into this alcove, like this doorway. And he said to me, he looked me in the eye. And this was the first time after a year now. He looked me in the eye and he said, I love you. And I said, good boy. What was that? Good boy? Really? Good boy? I said, good boy. So he looked at me again, he went, I'm being serious, I really do love you. And I went, good, so you should. What? Who does that? Who actually does that? After what it was I was feeling and going through for the last year and a bit now? And that was my response. Good boy and good, so you should. That's ridiculous. And I was just like, I don't know why. I froze. I couldn't say it back, you know. And I was just like, I can't actually believe he said that to me because I wasn't expecting that. Sorry, I've just had a message come up, so just ignore. So, yeah, it just baffled me. It really did. And when we were walking away again, you know, he went quiet, and all of a sudden this glass bottle was flying through the air and nearly it skimmed his head. It nearly hit him on the back of the head. And we were like, oh my God, and we turned around and it was his friend, the one that I was living with, like sharing a flat with for a couple of weeks, his best friend, throwing a glass bottle at his head. And we were like, what are you doing? And he was like, what? I just tried to get his attention. And I went, by throwing a glass bottle at your best friend's head. I went, you could have killed him. It's like, what are you doing? And he was acting really odd and very jealous. And I'm like, that's not normal. That was just really weird. You know, that for me scared me. So, something in me was telling me stuff, but at the time I was just sort of like, you know, not really acknowledging my intuition. Anyway, so, you know, further on in the evening, I said to Twin, now this is relevant too, there's reasons why I'm telling you all of this, because this is all coming into later dates, but I said to Twin, I said, do you know who we are? And he went, who are we? And I said, we're Carrie and Big from Sex and the City. And he went, yes, we are. And I went, we are. I said, you're my Mr. Big. And he went, babe, you're right. That's exactly who we are. And I kind of like, it was a passing comment, you know, it was so stupid. It was just a passing comment. And Anyway, that was that night. We said goodbye and I went home, and I went into a deep depression. You know, it was one of those absolute black holes, anxiety attacks, losing weight by the day, no appetite, couldn't eat. And this normally happens after a breakup, but mine seemed to be going on for months and months and months. And we kind of like had a bit of contact here, a bit of contact there, but I was just doing my best to just let him go. But like I said, I was seeing him every which way I turned. I couldn't escape him in anything, in anywhere. It was like I was tied to him, like this invisible thread was just linking me with him. And I couldn't understand, and it was almost as if I was grieving. It was almost as if I was, mourning him and trying my best to just accept what was happening and that he was with someone else. And, it was so painful, and I just wanted to hear anyone tell me, he's going to come back, don't you worry, you're going to be together. That's all I wanted to hear. That's all I wanted to hear. And I was getting obsessive I was doing readings every single day, every single second of the day. I was just doing my cards and doing them again and doing them again and doing them again, and asking my mum and then asking other psychics, and like, when's he coming back? Is he coming back? What's going on? I just needed answers. I wasn't looking inside myself at this point at all. I needed answers. I needed to know, like, what was going to happen. Is he coming back to me? Are we going to be together? Because I knew in my heart, in my soul, in the depths of me, that we were meant to be together. I knew it, but I couldn't understand why he would choose to be with someone else. I couldn't understand why he was letting me go when he told me he loved me, but he told me he loved me. And then I'm like, I was beside myself, and I was just getting worse and worse and worse and worse as the months were going on. I was actually getting worse. And then one day, this was now going into 2012, one day I saw something on Facebook, because by this point I'd now befriended him, because like I said, that's what I kept doing, friend, unfriend, friend, unfriend, block, unblock. So we were now back to being friends, which was very short-lived, because I saw something with him and the girlfriend, and it triggered the absolute shit out of me. And that was it. I exploded. And I wrote him an email that probably lasted for about 25 years. It was the world's longest email. And I didn't even stop for air. I was just going. It wasn't thinking when I was typing it out. It was just coming out of me. And I really went for it. I absolutely went for it. And I was digging. I was not so much going off in a tangent with anger, but it was anger. Of course it was, but it was more like a truth trip. It was like I was just off on one. I just went completely off on one. And I said about his facade, that he hides behind this facade. And I was basically telling him what I should have been telling myself, because that's exactly what I was doing too, but I couldn't see it because I wanted to blame him. I wanted to blame him for my misery. I wanted to blame him for my depression. I wanted to blame him for, how dare you open my heart up and just choose to be with someone else when you love me. I'm like, what were you thinking? And I did. I completely went off on one. And then that was it, blocked. And this was the day before his birthday. I mean, what a shitty thing to do, man. That was really shitty. And I did. The day before his birthday. And I actually ended it with, have a really good fucking birthday tomorrow. What a bitch. Absolute bitch. I had reason to be a bitch, don't get me wrong, but, even still, really shitty thing to do. And it was ironic because that day that I did it was actually my mum's birthday, because he's the day after my mum, his birthday. and the whole family went out, and I was upstairs doing this. I went downstairs and I had the house to myself, and I literally was screaming. Oh my God, I can't even describe the scream to you guys. I was screaming my fucking heart out. I was so angry and so just in so much pain, and I just wanted to die. And I'm not just saying that as a joke. I genuinely wanted to die, and I was so fucking angry at how the universe could give me something so magical and so overwhelming to just take it away from me. And it was like, it was agony. It's actually making me feel a bit emotional now from the level of hurt. Oh God, emotion memory is a killer, because you go back to that place. And I was screaming the pain. I needed to get it out of me, and I was just in pieces. I was just in pieces. And my mum and everyone came back home later that day, and I pretended that none of that happened, and I was getting on and going out for dinner for my mum's birthday. Never ever opened up to anyone. I never told anyone that. And it was, my God, it was awful. And I was getting more and more darker. The days were getting darker. The light was dimming at a rapid rate, and I couldn't see a way out. But what was happening was that this level of pain with Twin was triggering everything else in my life. It wasn't just about him now. It was about me now. It was about my childhood. The looking around me in the world and just seeing like it was alien. Everything in my life was becoming alien. Everything I knew was becoming illogical. Everything that I was conditioned to believe now was not making any sense in my life. Nothing was making sense to me, not one thing. And I was looking at people, I'm thinking, I don't belong here. I don't belong in this world. Nothing is making sense to me. In every single person that I looked at, I could not see something that was making sense to me. No one had an answer. No one had an answer for me. And it was just getting worse day by day by day. And it was just exhausting. I ended up sleeping a hell of a lot. I didn't want to think. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to drink. I didn't want anything. I just wanted to die. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't have a reason, because now I was starting to see everything in my life that I knew made me feel unworthy. I was acknowledging everything from my childhood, through my teenage years, through every experience I was ever going through, the reason why I wanted to perform. Everything was sort of coming to the surface, and I was starting to see issues in me, starting to question myself, not really quite understanding that at the time I was breaking through layers and addressing stuff. At the time, you don't know that is what you're doing. Like I said, I never had anyone to guide me through this. I didn't know it was called the dark night of the soul. I had no idea what a twin flame was. All I knew was that I was suffering in this journey, and no one was fucking understanding me. Not one person. And I didn't know how to figure anything out. I was just at a loss. So one night, I decided I was done. I was screaming at the universe daily. I was becoming a horrible person, someone I didn't like, someone I had no respect for. I realised that I disrespected myself probably the majority of my life. I didn't realise I was ever disrespecting myself. I didn't realise I wasn't loving myself. I didn't realise any of it. And I got to the point where I had nothing left. I didn't care. I just didn't care. So I decided now this is really difficult. And I'm sorry if this gets to anyone, you know, I'm just merely relating my experiences. But I got the pills out of my mum's cupboard, a little medicine cabinet, everything in like spread out, and I got my dad's famous grouse whiskey out of the cupboard, and I went outside to smoke my last cigarette. That's what I did. I was like, see you later, I'm done. Didn't have the fight in me anymore. Didn't have it. And while I was sitting outside smoking my last cigarette, my mum came out and I screamed at her. Just screamed at her. Oh, my poor little mum. Bless her, she didn't know what to do. She was like, what are you doing? She didn't know that I was planning this, you know. She just saw me like crying, and, you know, I was like hyperventilating me crying, and I couldn't breathe, and she's like, I don't know what to do for you. I don't know what to do for you. And I just started screaming at her, and I was telling her to help me. I went, why can't you help me? And I was screaming. She walked away because she didn't know what to do. Bless her heart, imagine that. You know, what can my mum do for me? It was only me that could help me, but didn't know what to do. I obviously didn't go ahead with it, otherwise I wouldn't be sitting here to tell the tale, but I was a wimp. I didn't really want to go. I didn't. So I got into bed that night, exhausted, emotionally drained. Just didn't have a clue what my next step in life was. I was lost. And I made a deal with the universe. I looked up because I knew they've always been there, but I was angry at them and I didn't want to talk to them. We fell out. Me and the universe fell out. And I looked up and I said, right, listen up. I think I called them a name at this point. I said, I've decided I'm not going to end it. But I need you, as a compromise, to give me a fucking reason to live. That's what I said to them. Okay? And I fell asleep crying that night. And the dream I had was this man who was perceived to be God in my dream, right? And he perceived to be God, and he was walking towards me. And the surrounding, I remember, it was just pure white. I wasn't on any clouds or anything, but it was just pure white around me. And there was this man walking towards me, and I felt already uplifted. I already felt this immense amount of love walking towards me. It was just, the energy was so beautiful. And he walked towards me, this big, big smile, and he came right up to me, and he whacked me across the face. And I was like, what was that? And he went, stop feeling sorry for yourself and snap out of it. And with that, I woke up. And I was like, what was that? I went, why would I get slapped? It's like, that's really mean. I'm already down. Why don't you just put some bloody, lemon juice in my wound, for God's sake? I was like, are you kidding? Is that what I get? I get a slap round the face. You know what? That was the best thing that happened, because it actually snapped me out. It kind of made me just laugh a bit. And that was the first time I'd laughed for a really long time. And I actually laughed, and I thought, as if you do that. And I just thought, well, there you go then. That just goes to show you, I just get slapped. And that was basically the start of the next chapter, where the actual awakening process and the revelations then started to happen. So I'm gonna stop there because it's already gone over a bit longer than I wanted it to. But these journeys, gotta tell you, when you're reliving them, they really do bring up that emotion memory again, and it only makes me feel even more proud at this very present moment, because I'm suddenly now back in my reality today, and I have to smile and just feel really good at this point, because well done, man. Pat on the back, because I've got here now and I've got so much more further to go, and I'm proud. I'm so proud, and I want you guys to be so proud too. Every single moment of your life when you're just feel proud of yourselves, because you know you're surviving every day of this, and it takes so much courage and strength to do so. And that's how I want you to feel. I want you to feel so very proud of yourselves. Okay, so I'm gonna love you and leave you, and I'll continue with chapter 3 within probably the next week. All right, so much love to you all. Again, please feel free to reach out. Okay, just any comments and likes, subscribes, I will truly appreciate. But that's not what I'm doing it. I'd like you to reach out, you know, and I'll be here to offer you any support and guidance I possibly can. All right, so until next time, chapter 3. See you later.